Okay, heading into tonight's game against the San Jose Sharks, the Vancouver Canucks have some fire. There's some smoke going around. There's some heat. We have ourselves an update on forward Andrei Kuzmenko. Because not only have we started to see articles popping up on the idea of him getting traded and discussing which players he could get traded for, but there also was an idea tossed out there by Canucks president of hockey operations Jim Rutherford, wherein there were some very heavy comments made in regards to the Kuzmenko situation. Now, before we go over and read what we're going to be talking about here, let's just go over the status. Kuzmenko has 17 points, 29 games played, on pace for 45 points, definitely a downgrade from what he had last year. Earlier today, it was revealed by Canucks reporter Kate Pedersen that Andrei Kuzmenko will be back in the lineup for tonight's game against the San Jose Sharks. This is the last game for Vancouver before the holiday break. Andrei Kuzmenko is going to get one more chance to really showcase himself in the best way possible heading into the Christmas season, and it comes after we had ourselves some tough comments made by Canucks president of hockey ops Jim Rutherford. Take a look at this article published by Mike Gold earlier today on Canucks Army. Here's the quote. Rutherford says that Andrei Kuzmenko didn't work enough to be in hockey shape, and he remains a Vancouver Canuck as of today. Now, I'm going to leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read this article, because Mike Gold does a really good job at kind of taking the quotes and setting up the context. But Vancouver Canucks president GM poured a little bit more fuel on the fire surrounding Andrei Kuzmenko during an appearance on the Bob McCown podcast earlier this week. The article talks about the appearance on the show. Rutherford is speaking to Doug McLean and Dave Hodge. He expressed his dismay at Andrei Kuzmenko's apparent regression this season. The 27-year-old winger has now been a healthy scratch 3 times and has just 6 goals and 17 points in 29 games. We're a little bit disappointed, Rutherford said. He worked very hard this summer. I think when you look at his conditioning and you compare him to another person his age, he's in top condition. He prepared himself. He worked hard at it. He probably didn't work at the kind of things you need to be in hockey shape, and that affected him a little bit. Now pause, what exactly does that mean? Well, I think what Rutherford is trying to say here is that Andrei Kuzmenko did go out there and work hard. He prepared himself in the way that he felt was appropriate, but maybe running up and down the Bally Stone staircase may not have been the best, workout when it comes to actual hockey things. That may be where Rutherford is going in regards to the comment saying that Kuzmenko didn't work at the things you need to be in hockey shape. Rutherford also went out there and said this: he got a little bit more attention this year, coming off a terrific first year where he had 39 goals. But he's a good player. He's a highly skilled player that right now is not in our lineup, but he could go back in at any time and get things going again. I certainly don't look at this player as a guy that, all of a sudden, cannot play the game. He certainly can. As of today, he is a part of the Vancouver Canucks. Now, of course, that comment can be seen as a little bit suspicious. As of right now, he is a Vancouver Canuck, implying that in the future that may not be the case. But you know what? That's the best part about Jim Rutherford, and it's something that I think we've come to acknowledge over the past year and a bit, wherein he's been in this position, that Rutherford never BS's people. Like, he never says anything where you can call him out on it in a few months, be like, hey, wait a minute, but you said this. Like, if Rutherford, instead of saying as of right now he is a Canuck, said, oh yeah, Andrei Kuzmenko is signed on for 2 years, so he's a Canuck for 2 years. That opens the door for Jim Rutherford to be taken under the spotlight when Kuzmenko gets traded, or something like that. There is no full, long-term commitment that Rutherford goes out there and hints at. And I like that because it keeps Canucks fans, it keeps the media, it keeps everybody on their toes. Hey, Andrei Kuzmenko is a Canuck right now, but he's not guaranteed to being a Canuck next week. He's not guaranteed to being a Canuck in 2 weeks or at the end of the season, especially if he continues playing the way he is. If you wanted to go out there and talk about what names could be linked to Kuzmenko, we do have a few articles, but what I also wanted to bring up was an idea said by Frank Saravalli on, a Daily Faceoff Rundown show? Here it is, Sakaris and Price. Here's the quote from Twitter. Saravalli says on Sakaris and Price that he thinks if Patrick Allvin trades Kuzmenko and uses his cap hit to get another defenseman or fill out their forward group, he thinks the Canucks are a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree. I think the Vancouver Canucks are a very good team, and when it comes to the makeup of this roster, we had already talked about this the other day, but this team is so good, both in terms of its play in practice as well as its look on paper, that if you wanted to add maybe one more extra forward, let's say a legitimately good forward that can balance out the top 6, or you get a right-handed defenseman that can play top 4 minutes, once everybody's healthy, you've got Carson Soucy back, you got this extra guy that's come onto the team to replace Kuzmenko when he's actually good. I don't know what's standing in between the Vancouver Canucks' way in this year's postseason. Like, of course, I'm being very hyperbolic in saying the expectations would be very high if that was the case, but they're already first in the league, man. What else do you want? Either way, to end off this video, what we're also going to look at is another article published on Canucks Army. This one was posted by Steven Rogett from yesterday. 6 potential forward-for-forward Canucks trades featuring Andrei Kuzmenko. Now, yeah, that's a bold article, bold takes out here, but when it comes to what exactly it is we could talk about, there are some names that I do think are interesting enough to discuss. The first one is Jake Guentzel of the Pittsburgh Penguins, 29-year-old left wing, expiring in 2024 at a $6 million AAV. He's got 35 points in 31 games played. However, this is not really a guy that I think the Pittsburgh Penguins would be interested in trading unless they really wanted to get younger by just a matter of 2 years or so. Rogett goes out there and writes in this article, why on earth would Guentzel be available? It's as simple as the Penguins being second to last in their division and Guentzel being a pending UFA. Should the season continue as it has, and should the Penguins get no closer to a playoff position, it's entirely possible they sell off Guentzel, who only has a 12-team no-trade clause. And given there's still a few more years left in Crosby, Malkin, Letang, any selling would be focused on next season as much as it is future assets. You could imagine the idea of the Penguins looking to swap out Guentzel for a Kuzmenko with 1 year left on his contract. Now, Guentzel is still the much better player, and we have to imagine the Penguins would demand a sweetener of some sort, especially with the Canucks probably requiring some light salary retention to make it all work. But it's a full season worth of a player in exchange for a few months, so maybe that sweetener will be more on the reasonable side. Now that's a really interesting idea. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments if you think the Jake Guentzel conversation is worth it. Rogett also goes out there and talks about Pavel Buchnevich on the St. Louis Blues. 26 points in 30 games played this season. AAV is 5.8 mil. This is also one of these teams where they are pretty bad this season. But Rogett goes out there and says that convincing the Blues to make a Kuzmenko for Buchnevich swap might be difficult under that context. They're the same age and are signed for the same length of time, so it's hard to see how Kuzmenko would move the needle for St. Louis. There also is a conversation about a few other guys. Tyler Bertuzzi in Toronto is brought up here. That's the crazy one. Mostly because, of course, everybody acknowledges that Bertuzzi has history here. Not because Tyler Bertuzzi himself was a Vancouver Canuck, but his uncle was, and that was a very different part of Canucks lore. Then there also is a conversation to be made about other guys like Tarasenko and Riley Smith. Tyler Bertuzzi is the interesting one, though. I mean, if you read what the article says here, Bertuzzi signed a 1-year deal with the Maple Leafs in an attempt to set himself up for a long-term extension post-cap raise, but has proceeded to put together the worst production of his career instead, despite ample opportunity in the Leafs' loaded top 6. He's got a full no move, but at this point, both the player and the organization are looking for a fresh start. And what better way to get that than by swapping Bertuzzi out for another struggling forward with the exact same salary of 5.5 mil. In Kuzmenko, the Leafs get someone with an extra year in their contract, and someone with probably more pure scoring potential than Bertuzzi holds. In Bertuzzi, the Canucks get a more well-rounded, Tocchet-style player who brings elements to the table that they don't have in abundance. They also get out of a contract a year earlier. That is a really interesting idea, and honestly, even though the point production is pretty much the same, even though both of these guys are struggling, even though you could debate that it's maybe too much of a lateral move to make this kind of a trade, I'd like Bertuzzi in Vancouver. Just saying, if you wanted to get a guy to round out the bottom 6, then hey, Tyler Bertuzzi being there would be much more useful than Andrei Kuzmenko, I would say. But, of course, that's just my opinion. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your opinions about the idea of Kuzmenko getting traded for any one of these guys. What are your thoughts on Jim Rutherford's comments made about this player? What are your thoughts on how he's going to play tonight against the San Jose Sharks? We'll make a post-game video once everything is said and done, and that will be the last video that I make before going on the holiday break. I have other things that are pre-recorded, so we'll still be uploading during the holidays, but I'm going to get myself a break by not having to record every single day. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Kuzmenko and this trade stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.